The wind carried the dust in sheets, turning day into a hazy twilight. Anna pulled her scarf tighter over her nose and mouth, squinting against the stinging particles that found every exposed inch of skin. She'd been warned about New Mexico's spring storms, but warnings never captured the reality, the way the world disappeared into swirling brown, the way sound dampened except for the constant hiss of sand against sand. She stumbled forward, one arm raised as a shield. The rental car was somewhere behind her, abandoned when the road vanished beneath drifts of dust. Ahead, a dark shape emerged from the haze, a structure, small and weathered. Anna pushed toward it, each step a negotiation with the wind that seemed determined to push her back. The shack's door hung crooked on rusted hinges. It creaked open at her touch, inviting her into stillness. Inside, the air remained thick with dust, but at least it wasn't moving. Anna pulled down her scarf, coughing as her lungs adjusted. Light filtered through gaps in the wooden walls, illuminating dancing particles and narrow beams. Something caught her eye, a corner of leather binding poking from beneath a fallen shelf. Anna knelt, tugging until the object came free. A book. No, a diary, its pages yellowed and cover worn smooth along the edges. She opened it, flipping idly toward the back, where a neat, flowing script filled the final pages. The date at the top was just 9 days ago. The woman will come when the dust rises, the entry began. She'll have my eyes, my mother's chin. Her hair will be silver where mine was gold, but she'll wear it the same, always falling in her face when she's thinking. She'll be alone, carrying the weight of what happened. She'll be looking for answers, but what she needs is forgiveness. My sister, Anna, coming home at last. Anna's hands trembled. The diary slipped from her fingers, landing open on the dirt floor. How could someone have written her name, described her appearance? How could they have known she would find this place, this book? She snatched it up again, turning to the inside cover. There, in the same flowing script, property of Lila Matson. Her sister's name. Her sister, dead 36 years. The Matson Ranch sat low against the horizon, a collection of weathered buildings that seemed to grow from the earth itself. Anna stood in the yard, keys heavy in her hand. The storm had passed overnight, leaving behind a landscape scoured clean, the sky impossibly blue. You sure about this? The property manager scratched his stubbled chin. Place has been empty going on 5 years now. Your uncle kept it up best he could, but after he passed. It's fine, Anna said, though it wasn't. Nothing about returning to this place was fine. I'll only be here a week or two, just long enough to sort through what's left. He nodded, handing her a folder of papers. Well, it's yours now, regardless. Call if you need anything. Anna watched his truck disappear down the long driveway, dust rising behind the tires. Then she was alone, truly alone, for the first time in decades. The silence pressed against her ears. The house smelled of dust and abandonment. Sheets draped the furniture like shrouds. Anna moved through the rooms, pulling covers away, revealing the ghost of her childhood. The dining table where her family had gathered for meals. The sofa where her father had told stories on winter evenings. The rocking chair where her mother had sat, singing softly while she mended. In the kitchen, faded photographs clung to the refrigerator, held by magnets shaped like cacti. Anna in pigtails, missing her front teeth. Her mother at the stove, wooden spoon raised in mock threat. Her father on horseback, hat tipped back, squinting into the sun. And Lila. Always Lila, golden hair catching the light, smile wide and fearless. Lila at 16, holding a trophy from the county fair. Lila on her high school graduation day. Lila leaning against her first car, a beat-up Chevy with more rust than paint. No photos after that. Nothing to mark the years that should have followed. Anna's fingers brushed the diary in her pocket. She'd brought it with her from the shack, unable to leave it behind. Now she placed it on the kitchen counter, staring at it as if it might speak aloud. This is crazy, she told the empty room. Completely crazy. Yet she couldn't deny what she'd read. Couldn't explain how Lila's diary had appeared in that shack, with entries dated decades after her death. Couldn't understand how the final words had described Anna so perfectly. She turned away from the diary, moving toward the bedrooms. Her old room remained mostly unchanged, the twin bed with its faded quilt, the bookshelf filled with paperbacks, the desk where she'd written letters and homework. Across the hall, Lila's room waited, door closed as if preserving something precious. Anna hesitated, hand on the knob. Then, with a deep breath, she pushed it open. Sunlight streamed through parted curtains, illuminating a room frozen in time. Posters of bands long forgotten clung to the walls. A collection of small glass animals crowded the windowsill. The bed was made, corners tucked with military precision, Lila's one concession to their father's training. Anna moved to the desk, running her fingers over the scarred wood surface. How many hours had Lila spent here, writing in journals, dreaming of places beyond the ranch? The top drawer stuck slightly, requiring a firm tuck. Inside lay the expected items: pens, paper clips, a stapler. But when Anna pressed against the back of the drawer, something clicked. A false bottom. She removed the drawer entirely, turning it over to find a small compartment built into its underside. Inside lay a key, small and tarnished. Anna held it up to the light, wondering what secrets her sister had kept locked away. The answer came when she noticed a small keyhole in the side of the desk, almost invisible against the wood grain. The key fit perfectly. When she turned it, a narrow drawer slid open beneath the desktop. Inside lay another diary, identical to the one Anna had found in the dust storm. 3 days passed as Anna lost herself in Lila's words. The diaries, there were 5 in total, hidden throughout the house, chronicled her sister's life from age 13 until the week before her death at 19. The entries painted a picture of a girl Anna had known but never fully understood, a Lila who dreamed of escaping the ranch, who wrote poetry in secret, who fell in and out of love with local boys. The final diary, the one from the shack, was different. Its entries began where the others left off but continued far beyond, as if Lila had somehow written them after her death. They described events that happened years later: their father's heart attack, their mother's slow decline into dementia, Anna's move to Chicago, her failed marriage. And scattered throughout were messages addressed directly to Anna, as if Lila had known her sister would someday read these words. When you find this, Anna, you'll think you've lost your mind. You haven't. Some connections transcend what we understand. Some love persists beyond what we can explain. On the 4th morning, Anna woke early, the diary open beside her on the pillow. She'd fallen asleep reading Lila's description of a place called Miller's Pond, a swimming hole they'd visited as children, where Lila claimed to have experienced the perfect moment of being alive. Anna dressed quickly, tucking the diary into her jacket pocket. The rental car started on the second try, engine protesting the early hour and cool air. She followed dirt roads from memory, turning where trees grew thicker, where the landscape softened from desert to something almost lush. Miller's Pond appeared around a bend, water dark and still in the morning light. Anna parked and walked to the edge, remembering summer days when the water had seemed vast as an ocean. Now it looked small, ordinary, just a pond fed by a seasonal stream, surrounded by cottonwoods and scrub brush. She sat on a flat rock, opening the diary to the entry about this place. We were 14 and 12, Lila had written. Dad let us ride our bikes here alone for the first time. You were scared to jump from the high rock, but I called you chicken until you did it. You came up from the water laughing and swearing at me. It was the first time I'd heard you curse. I felt so proud, like I'd helped you discover something wild in yourself. Anna smiled, the memory returning in vivid detail. She looked up at the rock outcropping that had seemed so towering then. It wasn't much, maybe 8 feet above the water. Yet jumping from it had felt like flying. She spent the morning there, reading Lila's words, remembering their shared childhood. When hunger finally drove her back to the car, she felt lighter somehow, as if she'd left something heavy behind in the still water. The next day, she visited the old diner in town where they'd spent Saturday afternoons drinking milkshakes and flirting with the local boys. The building now housed a hardware store, but the owner, an elderly man with kind eyes, remembered the Madsen girls. You two were something, he said, smiling. Always together, always laughing. Broke half the boys' hearts in the county. Anna nodded, not correcting his assumption that she was someone else, a friend, perhaps, or a distant relative. It was easier than explaining that she was the younger Madsen girl, returned after decades away. Easier than seeing the inevitable questions form in his eyes. Why did you stay away so long? Why come back now? She couldn't have answered those questions anyway. Not truthfully. Not without opening wounds that had never fully healed. The barn at the edge of the property was her next destination. According to Lila's diary, they'd held secret parties there during high school summers, sneaking out after their parents were asleep. Anna found the place sagging but still standing, its red paint faded to a dusty pink. Inside, sunlight streamed through gaps in the roof, illuminating dust motes and abandoned farm equipment. In one corner, barely visible in the shadows, someone had carved initials into a wooden post. LM plus JC. Anna traced the letters with her fingertip. JC Jason Cooper? The neighbor's son who'd worked summers at the ranch? Lila had mentioned him in her diary, but only in passing, a friend, nothing more. Yet here were their initials, preserved in wood, surrounded by a crude heart. Another secret. Another piece of Lila's life that Anna had never known. She continued her pilgrimage through the week, visiting places Lila had written about, the creek where they'd caught frogs as children, the abandoned railroad trestle where teenagers gathered to drink stolen beer, the hilltop where Lila claimed to have seen shooting stars on her 17th birthday. Each place held memories, some shared, some belonging only to Lila. With each visit, Anna felt both closer to her sister and more aware of the distance that had always existed between them, the 3 years difference in age that had seemed so vast in childhood, the divergent paths they'd begun to take as teenagers. The Lila who emerged from the diaries was both familiar and strange, more complex, more troubled than the golden girl of Anna's memories. She wrote of doubts and fears she'd never voiced aloud. She questioned the future that seemed predetermined for girls from small towns. She raged against limitations, against expectations, against time itself. And she wrote, again and again, of Anna, her quiet, serious little sister who saw everything and said so little. "Sometimes I think Anna understands me better than anyone," one entry read. "She watches with those solemn eyes, and I know she sees right through me. It terrifies me and comforts me at the same time." On the 7th day, Anna returned to the house early, a heaviness settling in her chest. Tomorrow marked the anniversary of Lila's death, 36 years since the accident that had claimed her sister's life and altered the course of Anna's own. She sat at the kitchen table, the diary spread before her. The mystery of the final diary, the one from the shack, with its impossible entries written after Lila's death, remained unsolved. Yet Anna found herself less concerned with how it had come to exist and more focused on what it contained. As evening fell, she turned to the final pages again, reading words that seemed written specifically for this moment. "There's a letter, Anna, in the hollow oak by the north fence. I put it there the day before I died, though I didn't know then what would happen. Find it. Read it. Understand." Anna's hands trembled. She knew the tree, a massive oak that stood alone near the property line, its trunk split by lightning decades ago, creating a natural hollow large enough for a child to hide inside. They'd used it as a secret mailbox when they were young, leaving notes and small treasures for each other. Night had fallen completely by the time Anna reached the tree. She used her phone's flashlight, the beam weak against the pressing darkness. The hollow was smaller than she remembered, or perhaps she was simply larger. She reached inside, fingers probing damp wood and accumulated debris. Something crinkled beneath her touch. Paper, wrapped in plastic. Anna pulled it free, heart pounding. The plastic was a sandwich bag, yellowed with age but still intact. Inside was a letter, folded neatly, the paper brittle but legible. She sat beneath the tree, flashlight propped against a root, and unfolded her sister's final message. "Dear Anna," it began. "If you're reading this, something has happened to me. I've had dreams, terrible, vivid dreams, that make me think my time might be short. Mom would say it's nonsense, but you know how my dreams sometimes come true." Anna paused, remembering how Lila had always claimed to dream events before they happened. Small things usually, like unexpected visitors or changes in weather. No one had taken it seriously. No one except Anna, who had witnessed too many coincidences to dismiss them entirely. "There's something I need to tell you," the letter continued. "Something I've kept secret because I was afraid of what it would do to our family. I've been seeing Jason Cooper, for almost a year now. We're in love, Anna. The real kind, the forever kind. He asked me to marry him last week, and I said yes." Anna's breath caught. Jason Cooper, the initials in the barn. Not just a summer flirtation, but a secret engagement. Dad would never approve. You know how he feels about the Coopers since the dispute over the water rights. That's why we've kept it quiet. We plan to tell everyone after my birthday next month, then leave together. Jason has a job lined up in California. We were going to ask you to come with us." Tears blurred Anna's vision. She wiped them away impatiently, continuing to read. "But here's the part I'm ashamed of, the part one need you to forgive me for. Jason was your friend first. I know you had feelings for him. I saw how you looked at him last summer. I told myself it was just a crush, that you'd get over it. I told myself I wasn't really betraying you. But in my heart, I knew better. I knew I was taking something precious from you, and I did it anyway. I've been selfish, Anna. Selfish and cruel." Anna lowered the letter, memory shifting and realigning. Jason Cooper, 17 to her 14, golden-haired and gentle-eyed. He taught her to ride his motorcycle, had listened to her dreams of becoming a photographer, had been the first boy to make her heart race. And then, suddenly, he'd stopped coming around, stopped seeking her out when he visited the ranch. She'd never connected his absence to Lila. Never imagined her beautiful, confident sister would see him as anything but a child's friend. I'm telling you this now because my dreams have been dark, Anna. I see water, cold and black. I hear screaming my own voice, I think. I wake up choking, gasping for air. If something happens to me, I don't want you to live your life not knowing the truth. And I don't want you to idealize me after I'm gone. I was flawed. I hurt you. I made mistakes. The final paragraph was written in a different pen, the handwriting slightly more hurried. We're going to the pond tonight, one last swim before the weather turns. Jason can't come. His father has him working late. It'll be just us girls, like old times. Meet me there at sunset? We can talk properly then. I love you, little sister. No matter what happens, remember that. Lila. Anna folded the letter carefully, sliding it back into its plastic protection. The pond. Miller's Pond, where they'd swum countless times throughout their childhood. Where Lila had drowned on a cool autumn evening, her body not discovered until the following morning. Anna had been supposed to meet her there. But they'd argued that afternoon, a silly, teenage squabble over a borrowed sweater. Anna had refused to go, had stayed home nursing her petty anger while her sister died alone in the dark water. For 36 years, she'd carried that guilt. For 36 years, she believed that if she'd been there, she might have saved Lila. Now, reading her sister's premonition, Anna wondered if fate had kept her away, if some greater force had prevented her from witnessing what couldn't be changed. Or perhaps there was no fate, no greater force. Perhaps there was only coincidence and the human need to find meaning in tragedy. Dawn broke over the ranch, painting the landscape in shades of gold and rose. Anna stood on the porch, watching the sun climb above the distant mountains. In her hands, she held the diary from the shack, the impossible diary with its entries written by a ghost. The anniversary of Lila's death had arrived, bringing with it a clarity Anna hadn't expected. The revelation of her sister's secret relationship with Jason, the knowledge of Lila's premonition about her own death, these things should have deepened Anna's grief. Instead, they'd transformed it into something else, something that felt almost like acceptance. Lila had been neither saint nor sinner, neither the perfect golden girl of Anna's memory nor the selfish betrayer revealed in the letter. She'd been human, complex, contradictory, capable of both love and thoughtlessness. Just as Anna herself was. The diary felt heavy in her hands, weighted with questions that might never be answered. How had it appeared in that shack? How had it contained knowledge of Anna's life after Lila's death? Was it possible that some part of her sister had continued to exist, continued to write her story from beyond death itself? Or was there a simpler explanation, a journal started by Lila and continued by someone else? Their mother, perhaps, writing to process her grief? Or even Anna herself during those blurry months after the accident, when grief had altered her perception of reality? In the end, did it matter? The diary had brought Anna back to this place, had forced her to confront the past she'd spent decades avoiding. It had led her to Lila's letter, to the truth about Jason, to a more complete understanding of the sister she'd lost. Anna walked down the porch steps and across the yard, heading toward the old pickup truck that had belonged to her uncle. It started with a roar that shattered the morning stillness. She drove slowly down the dusty driveway, turning not toward town but toward the back roads that led to Miller's Pond. The water lay still and dark in the early light, reflecting the sky like a mirror. Anna parked where she had days before, but this time she carried the diary with her as she walked to the edge. She sat on the flat rock, opening the book to its final entry, the one that had described her arrival during the dust storm. When you read this, Anna, you'll be sitting by the pond where I died. You'll have questions I can't answer. You'll wonder if you're losing your mind. You're not. You're finding your way back to yourself, and back to me. Anna closed the diary, running her fingers over its worn leather cover. Then she stood, walking to the edge of the water. With a gentle underhand motion, she tossed the diary into the deepest part of the pond. It hit the surface with a soft splash, floating for a moment before water seeped into the pages, pulling it slowly beneath the surface. She watched until it disappeared completely, leaving only expanding ripples that gradually faded to stillness. Then she turned away, walking back to the truck with steady steps. At the ranch, Anna packed her few belongings into her suitcase. The property manager would arrive tomorrow to discuss the sale of the land. She'd donate most of the proceeds to the local school, keeping just enough to establish a small scholarship in Lila's name. Before leaving, she placed the 4 original diaries and Lila's letter in a wooden box she'd found in the attic. She carried it to the shack where her journey had begun, during the dust storm that now seemed a lifetime ago. Inside, she set the box on a shelf, positioning it so it would be visible to anyone who entered. Someone would find it eventually, a hiker seeking shelter, a curious teenager exploring abandoned buildings, a new owner of the property. They would read Lila's words and know her story. They would learn about the golden girl who had dreams that sometimes came true, who loved fiercely and made mistakes, who left behind a sister who carried her memory across decades. As Anna walked back to her car, the wind picked up, stirring dust around her ankles. But this was just an ordinary breeze, not the beginning of another storm. The sky remained clear, the sun warm on her face. She drove away from the ranch without looking back, carrying with her not answers but something more valuable, the knowledge that some connections transcend understanding, that some love persists beyond explanation, and that sometimes forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves.